Welcome to the California show. We're at the cabin live. Coming at you live.
It was so gnarly getting up here, coming up the 405 to the 10, and then found my Uber took the wrong direction, so we had to go back to LAX and start all over. It was horrible.
Yeah, I just recently got a new stylist, the same guy who does Justin Bieber's hair. So we went fishing and I caught a bass. And I put it down there in my pond. We went down there to look for it. We didn't see it. So it'll be something for us to look for coming up in future episodes. We got, how many pocket grizzlies did we get, Tim? There was like 5 of them, right?
Yeah, it was at least 5.
We got 5 pocket grizzlies. Like the dig danged old Dukes of Hazzard right again. We're gonna go to we're gonna try a new adventure. We're gonna try to drive to Lunchbox Peak. It's over there. We were gonna fish, but it's rainier than the son of a bitch, muddier than muddy's ever been. Slipping and sliding on the road like it's been snowing.
It's better if you barely spin it at all. One more time. Chris, come up again. Do that one more time. Do it one more time.
Go with a lot of throttle, because what you're doing as soon as you do throttle, you're putting ice. Okay. Right, so you melt that snow and it makes hard ice, and then there's zero traction. Kind of just let it slip.
Ideally, it doesn't spin at all, but if it spins a little bit, you know.
Spin it as little as possible. And I'm just gonna keep bouncing you, and you'll get out. It's gonna take a few bounces. Yeah, yeah, no worries.
Turn your wheel to the left just a little so it's straight. There you go.
Okay, y'all. Today on Cowboy Cooking, we're gonna smoke us what they call this is a tomahawk. Look at that sucker. A big piece of meat. It's a big old rib thing. We're gonna put that sucker on the smoker. You see the smoker out there? We got it going. We're gonna smoke this bad boy. Maybe crack open a scotch while I do it. A little 12-year-old singleton. Yeah, so we're gonna smoke a tomahawk. I might make some Brussels sprouts, and that's gonna be our dinner tonight. But look at that! I mean, come on, Looks good, don't it? Okay, here we are. We're at the cabin. We're getting ready to smoke that big old tomahawk. I got some Home Depot hickory. And I think below it might be some Home Depot oak. And you know, it's where we're at, you can see it's mainly pine trees, so it's really hard to find, you know, naturally sourced hardwoods. So I've been buying this wood at Home Depot, and the one thing I noticed about it is the wood that I buy at Home Depot needs to be seasoned. And it's funny that, you know, you say seasoned and you think, oh, you got to let it sit out to dry. No, you got to let it sit out a winter to actually re-moisturize the inside. So this, you know, this has made it through one winter and it's ready to cook. We're going to do that tomahawk. That's what it's called, tomahawk. So, you know, I start my grill off with charcoal. So I'll get that charcoal going. I'll dump that down in the bottom of my firebox there. Let me open this up. Some bitch needs air. It needs air. Open that up for some air. Start it off on charcoal. Get the whole thing warmed up. Hit it with a brush. Clean it real quick. And then once it's up to temp and rolling, or even before it's up to temp, once I get, going with that, get the charcoal in there, I'll throw one of these logs on there. And, get it burning. And then once it gets up to temp, after that log's in there burning, then I'm gonna throw that tomahawk on there. Tomahawk! Boys and girls, that's a tomahawk. So that's basically it. I get like I said, I started on the charcoal just to get the grill heated up, then throw the logs on there. But the secret to the wood, if you're gonna buy it at Home Depot, is, re-season it. It burns too hot and too fast because it's actually kiln, K-I-L-N, kiln dried. So the kiln dried wood, it makes it drier than it needs to be. So like when you do hardwood floors, you want it to acclimate. So that's where we're at. While we're waiting for the grill to get ready, let's season this biatch. So what I do is I coat it in olive oil and let it soak for a little bit. The magic of the, soak. It's a thick dog. Look how thick that dog is. Woo! So coat it in olive oil, let it soak. Then I come over here to the cabin spice rack. I'm gonna do some pink Himalaya salt, some pepper, and then I'm gonna dash it with this right here. Bourbon molasses. It's like a Cuisinart, just over the shelf, regular old seasoning. I don't have a whole lot of seasoning here. I try to keep it simple, and a piece of meat like this, you can keep it simple. That's for my steak. And I think that's it's Kansas City steak rub, and that's Canadian steak rub. I like the Canadian better. And that's another. You see, I do a lot of steaks up here usually, and then when I get crazy, I do Tony Chachere's. Now I got a little story about old Tony Chachere's. I think he used to be called Tony Cratchit, C-R-A-T-C-H-E-T-T-E, which was actually pronounced Chachere's. But I haven't been able to find any documentation on that. So if any of you guys can find documentation on Tony Chachere's, spelled Tony Cratchit, let me know. Because I think that's like a Mandela effect. Somehow I ended up on this timeline, and I really don't think I belong here. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cook me a tomahawk while I am here before I can get back to my real timeline. Okay, so we've switched. The charcoal got done. Threw a couple of logs in there, and we've switched to the logs now. So we're going to set these logs. Once these logs get going and everything gets all good and toasty. Knowing this smoker, about 300 is where I want it. I basically learned all this smoking shit from a very famous Texas competition barbecue guy named Tony Bob. Some of y'all might know him. And a few things he taught me has really stuck with me. Some real basics. And number one is the seasoning. Use what you got. It's always going to turn out good. Don't use the seasoning as a crutch, right? You're smoking, and if you smoke it right and you get the meat right, it's going to taste good. Just the meat alone. A lot of really famous competition guys, salt and pepper. That's what they use. Old Tony Bob, he used whatever was in the spice cabinet. Paprika and cinnamon were and coffee grounds sometimes were two of the surprises. More for pork, but yeah. Anyways, so one thing he did teach me was you can get an idea where the temp is at by placing your hand on the smoker. If you can hold your hand there, you're under 200 degrees. But once you get to where your hand is a 10-second hand, you're getting up to where you want to be. You want to have a 10-second hand on it. And that smoke right there is a little bit on the thick side. You want it a little bit bluer than that. It's chooching a little bit on the heavy side. I mean, that's doable right there, but it's a little bit on the heavy side. That smoke. And the number one thing I learned was if you don't want your meat to dry out, you got to stay hydrated. Mandatory. Just, things I learned from the king. Old Tony Bob says fire management is very important when you're smoking meat. There is a certain color to the smoke you're looking for. That is it. See how it's like light blue, translucent. You want to have a flame. And so what I'm doing right now is I got the charcoal in there, right? We got the charcoal, our base. I don't know if you can see that in there. There's a charcoal base. And I got the logs. I want them logs to start charcoaling up a little bit, but still be burning. Then I'm going to shut it down, stabilize my temp, not necessarily by the gauge, but by the hand. So this gauge is off. So what we're looking for is we're looking for good smoke and that wood to be charcoaled up. Once that wood's charcoaled up and we got good smoke and the temp is right, we're gonna throw the meat on the grill. So that's what old Tony Bob says. And Tony Bob was knighted, or not knighted, duked, more duped, but duked as the Dupa of Lahaina. And Tony Bob's pretty much retired now. And he knighted me, or duped me, as the Dupa of Lahaina. So now technically I bear the throne as the Dupa of Lahaina. So I don't have the ring to show y'all, but there's a ring that goes along with it, and it's a big, ceremony and all that. So, and part of it is, being a master meat smoker. That sounds kind of weird. That's what I am. Anyways, so basically, we're gonna get this charcoaled up. Once that gets coaled up really good, we're gonna shut that down, manage our temp by managing the air in and the air out. So we'll get back with you, let this burn a little bit, get coaled up. We'll get back with you and show you how it is, how I learned from old Tony Bob.
Oh yeah.
Smoked tomahawk.
I thought that was a hatchet steak.
Smoked tomahawk. It's a tomahawk. Yeah, it came out really good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
With a bone for Misty.
It was done for what? About 3.5 hours?
Yeah.
3.5 hours.
I can't wait to Alice.
At approximately 275. Approximately.
I can't wait to see Alice's face with Misty running around the house with that bone.
That's a big old bone.
She's gonna love it. Not too bad.
It's a bit chilly. So today we're going on an adventure. We're going to hike and see if we can't locate that area, that knoll across the holler, right up there. That's what we're going to try to do. You ready?
I think we're gonna get lost.
That's a possibility. We came, we saw, we did, we hiked, helped some dude get unstuck. I saw a tick. It was pretty awesome. And that's it. This is my special Paul Pelosi lock for the back door. They call that the Paul Pelosi lock.